Hey, my friends, over the past few months, I've been getting questions concerning how do you construct proper exposure? Great question. And it's a tough one to get a hold of in your head sometimes. But once you figure all this out, you can shoot anything you want. Once you understand your ISO, how it relates to your shutter speed, and how those relate to your aperture or your f-stop, once you figure that relationship out, you can make great images no matter what you're shooting, whether it's landscape or sports. Right now, I'm using the Sony a6100 with the Sony 50mm 1.8 lens. That's the aperture setting. I want you to see the first thing that's really important to know about your aperture is it determines how much light comes into your camera. Now, yes, the ISO and shutter speed does do that as well, but we're going to focus on the aperture today. So keep that in mind. Aperture. Say it with me. Aperture. Okay, that's what we're doing today. So I'm at f11, as you can see on the screen. I got a couple models I hired to come in and help us out. You should be able to barely see them. So I'm at a shutter speed of 1/200th of a second. ISO is at 1000. Not going to touch the ISO today. But the aperture, f11, you can see it's pretty dark. So keep that in mind. Now I'm going to change this. We're going to go down, not up. I want to go back down. f7.1, we got more light coming into the camera. 5.6, even more light. Like I said, this lens goes down to 1.8. So we go all the way down to 1.8. And you got so much light coming into the camera that it's overexposed. So in order to fix that, we have to adjust the shutter speed. So you can see plenty of light is in there to properly expose this image. One of the big things that aperture does, and it's very important, especially as sports photographers who are often shooting in low light situations, the more light we can get into the camera, the better the image is going to be. So now, again, let me show you. If I go up now to 5.0, it's getting darker, and then our models are gone now at f8. So keep that in mind. Aperture has to do with the lighting coming in. And then, like I said, in low light situations, you want as much light as possible to help you make great images. Now, next thing you want to look at here, let's go back down where we were at. Double check focus, looking pretty good. Now we have Heat Miser, he's in focus. However, Peter from Office Space is not in focus, which could be fine. In sports photography, a lot of times you just want your key subject, your main athlete, to be in focus. The people behind, you want them what we call blown out or a shallow depth of field. You don't really want to see them because the focus is on the main player, the main athlete. Which leads us into the second thing that aperture does. It gives you that depth of field. So say I want Peter to be in focus as well as Heat Miser. How do I fix that? Well, this is where the fun begins. I start doing this. I go the opposite direction. Yes, things are becoming darker, but check this out. Once I drop the shutter speed down, let's go down a little bit more right there. Let's double check focus. And you can see Peter now is more in focus than he was before. If we go up a little higher, let's go up to 8. We'll stop at f8. Let's take care of the shutter speed, get us some more light coming in there. We double check focus. Now they're both in focus. So not only would you have the main athlete in focus, but anybody behind that person would also be in focus. How do you know when to use which f-stop or which aperture setting? When do you use f8 as opposed to f1.8? Well, if you want a lot of light to come into the camera, which is what you usually want in low light situations, many of those gymnasiums, those stadiums you shoot in are going to be really lousy with the lighting conditions. So you can drop it down to f1.8. You can see now the scene is blown out. However, if I have enough light coming in the scene and I want more than just the main athlete in focus, that's when you jump up to a higher f-stop. So f8 is good. It shows you we got Peter and Mr. Heat Miser both in focus. Now this video is part of a 4-part series I'm working on. The other aspects include shutter speed and ISO, and then putting them all together to make a great image. Like I said, once you understand these concepts, you can shoot anything, but you need to understand them, and then you need to get out and utilize them in real life situations. Thanks for joining me, everybody. And don't forget, check out some other videos. You can learn more stuff about sports photography.